Hi, my name is Felice, and I'm the Happy Star Wars Guy. Today's episode, we are going to kind of take a brief look, in a very brief look, because there was a lot going on in this storyline. But this is a story of Cade Skywalker. This is part of the Darkhorse storyline Legacy, Star Wars Legacies. Star Wars Legacy takes place about 150 years after the Battle of Yavin, which is, for some reason, the turning point in the Star Wars universe. So everything is measured from that battle on. So 150 years into the future, Luke Skywalker is gone, and his children end up having children and more children, and you end up with Cade Skywalker. Now, Cade Skywalker is kind of a different Skywalker. He is not the dutiful Jedi that you would want to have. He is actually a fringer. He is a bounty hunter. He has a crew. He has a really cool alien co-pilot, Delia Blue, and she is really awesome. And they explore the galaxy together, and Cade Skywalker has this epiphany throughout the storyline. So let me bring you up to date, because a lot has happened in 150 years. There are a lot of characters that you're going to have to look up, and I'll try to put in all the links that I can in this one to help you with main characters and main plots. So, this might be a long video. Star Wars Legacy. Cade Skywalker, Fringer, Bounty Hunter, Scoundrel. He is Luke Skywalker and Han Solo combined. And it's crazy. In fact, he's worse than Han Solo because he ends up using drugs to shut the Force down. So he doesn't have conversations with Luke Skywalker, his great-grandfather, her great-great-grandfather. You get to see stories of Cade Skywalker's dad and uncle. And you get to see the Imperial Knights of Emperor Baron fell. And if you remember, in a prior video I talked about Jag Fell, who fell in love with Jaina Solo, and they got married and lived happily ever after, because that's where I hoped they would pick up for the next Star Wars movie, but they didn't, and it kind of essentially ruined everything that I had hoped for in a Star Wars movie. But then Force Awakens came out, and I got revitalized with how their creative aspects worked, and you can see that in the video review of Force Awakens. So anyway, Star Wars Legacies. Cade Skywalker, again, scoundrel, fringer, bounty hunter, struggling with the fact that he's a Force user and strong in the Force because he's a Skywalker. However, he doesn't want to be a Jedi. And the Jedi are not really... There's not much going on with the Jedi. There's a small council, and actually several Jedi who survived the Order 66, who are of an alien species that lives long, end up showing up in this storyline. We have Clone War Jedis who end up being 150 years in the future. It's really cool. In fact, I think if I remember right, I shared with you in a video there was a Jedi who was an alien tree type creature. Maybe I didn't mention it. I don't want to ruin it for you. But this Jedi Master, who's of the same species, who essentially does a really cool thing in the story, does sort of the same thing as the other alien species that did a really cool thing during the Sith War. So anyway, if you haven't checked out the comics that I've reviewed, if you haven't checked out some of the stories, you're really missing out on some great stuff, and I don't want to spoil it for you. But to continue with the story because there's so much to unpack. You have Emperor Fel, who's a descendant of Jagfell, who is essentially, we learn, a descendant of the Solo family. Emperor Fel has Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights are Force users. They're basically stormtroopers with lightsabers. However, they don't have masks on like stormtroopers. So it's kind of taking what Ralph McQuarrie had figured out and started to draft and kind of take that into a whole new level. The outfits are red, so it's kind of as if you have the Sith troopers from Rise of Skywalker in this comic book series, but they're a little different. They're really a lot different. They got capes, they've got cooler armor than the Sith troopers, and it's pretty cool. And so there's also these fun love stories, and like I said, Cade and Delia Blue, they have their love story. Cade Skywalker is visited by Luke Skywalker as a Force spirit. Oh, and R2-D2 is still around, and R2-D2 shares these old archives of the fact that Luke was Darth Vader's son, the fact that Anakin fell to the dark side. You get to see that because for some reason R2 was secretly checking out everything and recording all of this stuff that nobody really knew about. And Cade finds out about it as they unlock all of this information from R2-D2. And in the meantime, there is also a story of the Sith. The Sith are still alive. They're actually thriving at this point because of a Sith Lord called Darth Krayt. Now, he gets his name from the Krayt dragon, which is from Star Wars New Hope. That's the howl that Obi-Wan does to scare off the Tusken Raiders. He does a Krayt dragon howl, and that is where we're introduced to the Krayt dragon at first in the Star Wars storyline. And Darth Krayt was Asherard Het, who was a Jedi in the Clone Wars, who was part of the Tusken tribe originally. And after he evaded Order 66, he hid himself. He went to Tatooine to hang out with his Tusken tribe, and he continued to help the Tusken Raiders out until he ran into Obi-Wan, who was hiding Luke Skywalker. So he banished Asherard Het and essentially created Darth Krayt, because Asherard Het ended up running into the Yuuzhan Vong. And then Vergere, this Force, actually a Jedi Master hiding with the Yuuzhan Vong, runs into Het and ends up being a mad scientist on Darth Krayt as a Force user, because the Yuuzhan Vong wanted to understand Force users. They were a little immune to the Force, however, they were all about using organic life to manipulate the current life and change things around. So what they did with Het is they created Darth Krayt. And Darth Krayt has all this Yuuzhan Vong armor, which is really strong. However, it is sucking the life out of him, and he uses a dark side to keep his life alive, but he also seeks out help from none other than Darth Bane. But Darth Bane is actually upset at Darth Krayt because Darth Krayt has amassed a Sith army, and Darth Bane says it's an abomination. It's a rule of two, a master and apprentice, one who has power and one who's seeking power. So Darth Bane is no help, and he seeks out the help of Darth Bane because Darth Bane actually had this organic armor living on him. And so Darth Krayt, knowing that, tried to get the knowledge of how to survive this Yuuzhan Vong armor. Well, he ends up going into hibernation time and time again, and he has trusted sidekicks to take care of things while he is in hibernation and regaining his energy to continue to live. Because at this point, he's what, 200 and some years old? So, this is an exciting storyline. We get to see Yavin 4 again. We get to see all these other planets again in this comic book series, and it's put on by Darkhorse. They did a great job. They had great story writers, and there is a happy ending after all. It also introduces an iconic character. If you're anybody who follows Star Wars art, Darth Talon, a female Twi'lek who is a tattooed red Sith sidekick and one of the right-hand people of Darth Krayt. It's an extraordinary comic book series. You gotta check it out. I think I gave you enough to really reel you in. I hope you enjoy. And if you've read the comic book series, please make some comments. I'd love to re-talk about all the things that I enjoyed about the series. So please like and subscribe if this is your first time. And share with your friends who are Star Wars enthusiasts as I continue to build this story and bring happiness and fun to Star Wars again. Thank you very much for tuning in, and may the Force be with you.